In today's video, we have the latest trade talk around the Dallas Stars and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We also have some rumors around the vacant head coaching position in Philadelphia, as well as the vacant GM role with the Vancouver Canucks. All that, plus we have news on the NHL waiver wire and some potential suspensions coming. We'll discuss all that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and rumors here today. Let's start off first up with news from the NHL waiver wire. First up, we've got Riley Nash from the Winnipeg Jets has been placed on waivers today. He's appeared in 15 games with the Jets this year, recording 0 points. That was a little bit of a surprise player on waivers. Obviously, he's 32 years old on a one-year deal in Winnipeg, so certainly not a matter of contract term or money to really be concerned about. He certainly has a lot of experience. I know the Leafs picked him up last year for an extra forward for the playoffs, a guy who can be a bottom six center, face-offs, penalty killing, that kind of stuff. He didn't play a ton with Toronto, but still, a very, kind of player who can be useful deep into the season and into the playoffs. So I wouldn't be shocked if a team picked up Riley Nash. Not really sure what Winnipeg intends to do to replace him, but certainly somebody that was a little bit of a surprise on waivers today. And the Florida Panthers also have defenseman Kevin Connauton on waivers. He's appeared in 13 games, also putting up 0 points this year. Gustav Forsling is about to return off IR, and they needed to create the necessary space and spot for that. So Connauton unfortunately goes on waivers. Lucas Carlson, I guess, has been good enough for them that they wanted to keep him over Connauton at this point. So Connauton, another guy, wouldn't be shocked to see him be picked up. Not a star by any means, but he's a decent depth defenseman. On a lot of teams would be like a 6'7" guy. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see either one of these guys get picked up. Now, it's also kind of nice to get back into the normal news cycle here. Of course, yesterday's video ended up getting severely delayed because of all the news out of Vancouver last night and Philadelphia. So in case you've missed any of the recent videos, or if you really haven't been paying attention, we saw major regime changes in Vancouver with Travis Green and Nolan Baumgartner on the coaching side be relieved of their duties. And on the management side, GM Jim Benning and assistant GM John Weisbrod also let go. So the Canucks essentially have a vacant GM role, which we'll discuss here shortly. And then this morning, we got word out of Philadelphia that Alain Vigneault has been relieved of his duties along with assistant coach Michel Therrien, and assistant coach, now interim head coach Mike Yeo is taking over. And of course, we'll see where they go. We'll discuss that a little further as well. We have some potential suspensions coming, and as well as a fine, all of which came from the Leafs and Jets game last night. Things certainly got pretty nasty and chippy. I know a lot of people were complaining that the referees certainly didn't do a good job of containing things and were part of the blame. I only seen a little bit of the game, so I don't know a lot of the pretext of what happened, but a couple of things are coming from this. Wayne Simmons has been fined $2,250. Neil Pionk is having a hearing for kneeing against Rasmus Sandin. That didn't look real good. Sandin could be out. And Jason Spezza has been offered an in-person hearing for kneeing on Neil Pionk. So obviously, now in the situation with Pionk, he was on his way down. Like, he was going down, and Spezza went out of his way to get down as well, to get him. So certainly, I'm not shocked here that Spezza would have a hearing, possibly be suspended. I am a little bit surprised, though, that it's an in-person hearing, which gives them the ability to suspend 5 games or more. So we'll see where this goes. It's really hard to imagine any kind of a scenario that Jason Spezza would be suspended for 5 games. He's really not that kind of player throughout his whole career, but certainly, like I said, he pitched in on what was going in last night, and certainly not some good moves there on either side. Certainly some plays. We also saw Pierre-Luc Dubois in a situation with Austin Matthews. I know that clip's been making its round through the highlight channels as well as the social media clips today. He's kind of ragdolling Matthews. I'm kind of a little bit surprised, as big as Matthews is, just like we saw in the playoffs against Montreal. Like, is he ever going to fight back? Like, it'd be nice to see a little bit of physicality and emotion come out of him instead of just letting other players manhandle him like that. That's something that surprises me that you don't get out of him, because, he's certainly got the size and should have the strength to be able to defend himself and, play a little bit more physical when he's being attacked like that. I don't expect him to go out of his way to do it, but just very surprising. So certainly that is a game that certainly drew a lot of attention last night, and I would imagine the next meeting between the Leafs and the Jets are going to get, pretty chippy as well. And I would imagine you're going to see a lot of outcomes from that based on things that went down here in this game here today. Now, today's also an interesting day in hockey history. 31 years ago today was the day that the Ottawa Senators were granted their franchise. I know being a smaller market, they were certainly, had a difficult task getting themselves to get into the NHL's good graces to be awarded the expansion franchise. So that happened 31 years ago today. And then 26 years ago today was the day that Patrick Roy was traded out of Montreal along with Mike Keane to the Colorado Avalanche. And that was a big, big day in Habs history. Obviously went on to be a big day in Avalanche history as well, as of course they went on to win a Stanley Cup there with Patrick Roy. So certainly, a couple of key moments that have taken place a number of years ago on this day in hockey history. A couple quick injury updates as well. The Montreal Canadiens are going to have some guys out for an extended time, including Joel Edmondson and Tyler Toffoli. So certainly things not about to get any better in Montreal, I don't think. Edmondson, it looks like he's avoiding surgery, but still battling a back issue. And Toffoli's going to be up for a few more weeks as well. So they're both not like super long term, or at least shouldn't be, but it's going to be out probably at least a couple of more weeks before they can get the return here. Now, when it comes to some trade talk around the NHL, one of the teams I want to focus on is the Dallas Stars. Now, we got word today that Ben Bishop has been sent down to the American Hockey League on a conditioning stint. Now, he's been on LTIR, which feels like forever. Of course, Jake Ottinger and Braden Holtby have been running with the goaltending situation, both doing really, really well. But obviously, Bishop's return kind of complicates things. So, certainly creates a situation where we should expect Anton Khudobin to be traded anytime soon here, especially when Bishop's ready to be called up. They need the space, they need the roster spot, and it makes most sense that he would be the guy to go, considering how well the other two guys have been playing. They very well could run with a tandem of Bishop and Holtby, and of course Ottinger is eligible to go back to the American Hockey League without needing waivers. Not that he deserves it based on his play, but certainly because of the flexibility on the contract would likely be what happened, and Khudobin could be on his way out. We already had reports that the Buffalo Sabres were talking to Dallas about Khudobin, and there's certainly at least 2-3 other teams out there that really need goaltending help, and they need it in a bad way, so wouldn't be shocking at all to see Khudobin here moved on the short term. Now, another trade that I think we're going to see in the short term, I mean, they could find a way to get around this another way, but I think it's quite likely we're going to see the Leafs make a trade in the near future, given the fact that Peter Mrazek, another goaltender battling injury on his way back, is also in the American League on a conditioning stint, and of course, he's going to be ready to be called up soon. They need him there to be able to get some breaks for Jack Campbell. So clearly, they're going to have to demote Joseph Woll, which will be a little bit of the money, but they don't have the space to activate Mrazek. So Woll going down will offset a little bit of it, but we've been saying for some time that Justin Hall is the most likely trade chip on the Leafs roster that they would use to free up some roster space and cap money to bring back Peter Mrazek from long-term injury reserve. So they could demote some other players or put some other guys on waivers, but I would suspect a Hall or Dermott trade, more likely Hall being the operative one here, is more likely to happen in the not too distant future. And some other rumors regarding the Flyers and the Canucks with their vacancies here. Of course, the Flyers obviously cleaned house this morning with Vigneault and Therrien being on the way out. Of course, like I said, Mike Yeo is the interim coach, but there's a lot of speculation that former Flyer and former Coyotes head coach Rick Tocchet could be the next bench boss behind the Flyers on a permanent basis. I'm not sure how much they're going to rush into this. Of course, Tocchet is basically a coaching free agent right now, considering he's been working in TV, took a media job instead of an assistant coaching job because he wanted to have that head coaching spot and wanted a little bit more flexibility on when he could take it. If he's working for another franchise, that certainly complicates things. Usually they want you to finish out the season before you get released to go on for a promotional type of opportunity, and he might end up missing out on such a role. So certainly in Tocchet's case, no guarantee he'll be the guy in Philly, but he's certainly came to the rumor mill. Like his name was mentioned right away this morning after Vigneault was let go, and they don't need to necessarily rush into this, but I'm not sure they're going to want to take too long either. But Tocchet would certainly provide a different style of play and might be the guy that they need there in Philly to help get things turned around. Like I said this morning as well, I would imagine that GM Chuck Fletcher very well could be on somewhat thin ice as well, given the fact that the roster construction is also part of the problem in Philly, and he's certainly responsible for that. So we'll see how much rope he's given by ownership. before they make a change at that position as well. And when it comes to Vancouver, obviously there's some names out there floating around of who could replace Jim Benning, but as we've heard from various local Vancouver media, it doesn't sound like they're going to rush into this at all. They're going to take their time. They need to get this right. They have a lot of work to do to undo all the mistakes made in the past 8 years by the regime that's on the way out now, and it's not going to be easy. They can't really afford to screw up here and a mistake to get the wrong person in charge to be leading that charge. So obviously, lots of names are out there that could be potentially in line. Some even wonder if the Sedin twins might be on for an elevated role and to take on that. So ultimately, right now, Stan Smeel is the interim general manager. You get Ryan Johnson's an assistant GM, and you get the Sedins. So there's certainly some interesting people there that can continue working with the organization. It's believed the Sedins will be heavily involved in the decision process to who the hire is going to be. There's even some talk that they might hire a president of hockey ops and then let that person hire the general manager and have a little bit more of a different structure like we've seen other teams like Montreal take on here recently. So that's even a possibility. And both the guys that recently left the Habs, and Marc Bergevin and Scott Mellanby, are already being mentioned in the Vancouver rumor mill. Now, I know the Hockey News was reporting this morning that I think it was Ryan Kennedy said that he had sources saying that Bergevin was of interest to the Canucks. I wouldn't be shocked if they at least had a conversation with him, that he'd be somebody they'd want to speak to, but I would think they might want somebody a little bit different myself. I mean, not to say anything bad about Bergevin. He obviously lasted at Montreal for pretty much a decade. That's certainly not a small accomplishment by any means at all. They did go to the Stanley Cup final. So, again, it wouldn't be shocking if they had a conversation and he was on their list of people, but it wouldn't be surprising either that they went into a very different direction and talked to a variety of other different personalities. So we'll see where it goes in Vancouver. I don't think we're going to get a new announcement anytime soon. Could it be Bergevin? You never know. I guess it's possible. I just don't really see that being a great fit right off the bat, but I guess we'll see where they want to go with this. I mean, will this person have to have connection to Vancouver or not? I don't know. I mean, we've seen different structures being used around the NHL here recently. Be interesting to see if they want to spend the money on a hockey ops person like a president and then bring in a GM, or what's going to happen. But there could be no shortage of interest in that GM role in Vancouver. It's a little bit surprising to have them have an interim GM hire and then bring in a head coach here without having a permanent GM in place, but something that Bruce Boudreau is used to as a new head coach in Vancouver, and he was given a contract for this year and for next year as well. So at least they don't have a huge long-term commitment there right off the hop to the new guy taking over. So let me know your thoughts on today's news and rumors down below in the comments. We'll discuss further. New to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.